Hey, what's good, y'all? Welcome to another video. This time is of the Choudan Kadou, Sen-Ti-Nel Choudan Kadou. Ryo the Wildfire Ronin Warriors, aka the Samurai Troopers over in Japan. And I gotta stop at saying, I love this figure. As an 80s baby, it is something that has made me extremely happy to have the first time around. At the Armor Plus series from Bandai about 10, maybe 12 years ago now. And then now we're getting it again with Sen-Ti-Nel. Now the thing is, for those of you who know me, I had the previous figures, but they did not withstand the test of time. I had a flood a while back, and those are figures that I lost in the flood. But I don't have that to compare to, so if you watch my video first, and you can go back and watch other videos, hopefully you guys can get a good comparison of what you like in between the stuff. But unfortunately, I don't have those figures to compare to anymore. But I do have the Sen-Ti-Nel one, and I'm here to talk about it today, so let's do that. I actually have the armor placed in the back, because I want you guys to see what it's look like on its stand, because it comes with the stand to place your armor on, just like the Armor Plus one. Then we have Ryo here, bare boned out, looking pretty cool. So this is going to be a pretty long review, because I'm going to try to walk you through this while not doing too much transformation on the screen. But hopefully I can do the most important stuff, which kind of helps you with what you have going on. Now, first things first, let's talk about Ryo unarmored in his base part. This is actually a pretty cool thing, because you don't lose a lot of articulation with this guy. You kind of just have this really cool look about him, and it's proportioned really well. It's proportioned like the way he's supposed to be as a 16-year-old kid in the show. I know he looked and talked a lot older, but they're all like between 16 and 18. I think, yeah, maybe like 16 to 20, maybe the most. But he's only 16 at the time, and he's leader of the group, and he does a lot. But yeah, pretty nice. And I had something fall off screen, on screen. So yeah. So articulation wise with this guy, we actually can look up, we can look down, we can tilt left and right. You actually get more articulation unarmored than you do armored, for obvious reasons. With armor, is going to be bulky, and it's going to pretty much protect you in certain spots. Our arm articulation goes all the way up. We actually spread it this far. You can go down. We have our shoulder pauldron, which is attached. We go around. And we have a butterfly joint, which is actually really fantastic. I love that that's there. We have a double jointed arm with a bicep swivel. And as you can see, like I said, without the armor, we actually have a ton of articulation. Our waist goes around. Our ab crunch is non-existent, so it does not have a forward crunch, but it can move backwards, as you can see here. Our leg can go all the way forward. And it's double jointed. Our leg has really good articulation. It can even swivel left and right, go forwards and backwards, and has a toe pivot. So you can see here, lining this guy up for basic articulation is all there. Sen-Ti-Nel makes sure that it's there. And as a back support, you can actually place this down to give you extra leverage when balancing. So you won't have that issue. As far as getting this guy posed up, as you can see here, should not be too much of an issue. Like I said, it's proportioned actually really well. Oh, by the way, thigh swivel, because in case I missed that. So yeah, this guy actually squares up pretty nice. I like this a lot. I like the fact that how it looks is very anime proportioned. The face is very anime proportioned, but it looks really good and lined up. As you see here, you see all the port pieces for where you obviously are going to have the armor. And for those that are going to ask, this is removable for when you part swap. So there's going to be part swapping, lots of it. This is actually really fun, just in this base form and having the armor here. Because like I said, you can line it up, you can do all the cool photos. And when you aim for that mid-transformation look, you'll actually have a very good time kind of doing it with this guy. Because if you want to do certain parts on, certain parts off, it's not one of those things where it's a complete hassle. So I really like that. Now, outside of that, we're going to talk about the armor. And here it is on his bench, which is not attached. So you have the little tiny bench. It's not foldable, not movable. It just holds up the armor. Literally, that's what it does. It holds up the armor. It props down in a permanent sit position. Mine's came with one small defect on the left-hand shoulder. One of my tabs is properly in shaped, so it cannot sit perfectly. Obviously, I'll try to fix it after, but I want to make sure I talk about it here. Came with one small defect. It does not bother me. I know it may bother some of you, so make sure you check your pauldrons. As you can see here, they both can do this, but only one of them sit perfectly, as the other one has some issues. For the armor, it is in a permanent sit position. The arms, however, have a rotating bicep swivel that allow you to come out here. And then the foot does absolutely nothing. The body rest does nothing. All you can do is tilt the head left and right and the arms like this. There's no other articulation here. So this is a glorified statue, which is the way it's supposed to be when your armor sits here on his chair. Really cool stuff. So they definitely nailed this part of the series where you see the armor sitting. So when you want to do those glamour shots, it's totally possible. Now, I'm going to try to armor this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the pieces off, and then we're going to go through that step, and then we'll move on to the next step. So yeah, let's do that. All right, so now that I'm coconut oil free and I'm ashy enough to touch this without anything slipping or breaking, let's get into it. So let's say you call upon the armor of Wildfire. Obviously we want to cool that, want to do that cool thing. So first things first, we start off with the torso, as the instructions say. I've done this all total of 3 times. The 4th time will now be on camera. Let's see how I make this work for you guys. Hopefully I can remember everything without the instructions. So this guy's looking cool here. Make sure he's in the main focus. And let's start off with this waist area. So I'm going to try to do this on camera as quickly as possible, so we can get to the fun part. You see our waist here, as you saw what I did. You're going to attach the back now. The front torso piece. So this actually is going to slide over first to match up with the top part, and then slide over the chest and then plug in. Next up, we're going to do the shoulder armor. These actually plug and tab up very easily. I say that as I struggled just now, don't mind me. Then we plug on these shoulder pads. You can do this actually in any order that you want for the shoulder pads and stuff, but the torso absolutely has to go on first, and you'll see why in a second. And don't worry about the ugly look. It's about the final look that we care about, because as we set this on, we don't want any complications, right? Next up is going to be the waist armor. The waist armor is going to be these 2 side skirts that I want to line up in the front and the back. And the reason why I wanted to do this on camera, because I want to show you guys. This is where I had one complication, and hopefully nobody else will. You have to line these up so it tabs in. Now, while the back side tabs in perfectly, the front side may have some issues tabbing on. So what I did is I lift the skirt up. Well, not completely up, but I lifted up just enough so that way they begin to tab in on the back side. And then I press down so that way the tabs go in on the backhand side. As you can see here, let's get some light over here. There we go. You see it right there glimmering with that tab part. Then you're going to take the back skirt, which is going to plug and tab on. You're going to gently lift the skirt up so you can get that tab piece solidly in, and it lines up there. This will cause the front to supposed to tab, but mine doesn't tab perfectly, like I said. Then we're going to do the front tab. What I normally do is, to make it line up, I kind of just push gently on the tabs in. So that way they tab in close enough. You align where the rectangle is. Well, I want to say it's a square, but I don't think it's a perfect square. And then you tab it in slowly. Lift the skirt up like you did the backhand side. And I caused a small paint defect, and now I'm a little bummed. So you have to be very careful here, because I definitely caused a paint scratch on mine. Hopefully it won't bother me for all of eternity. So here we go. So far, you're gonna definitely have to be careful here, because that front tab is definitely something to be careful of. Also, I recommend that when you go down here, when you are removing these tabs for the feet, you may ask why I'm skipping the knees, and you'll see why in a second. So I recommend that you heat these up to get them out, because they definitely have a little bit of globbed paint on them at first removal. And you slide these on. So you will slide on the foot gauntlets. This is going to even out your weight and distribution, because even though this is all plastic, there's no die cast. It still has some weight to it. So in the knees, it's very simple because they're magnetized. So they slide on with magnets with no problem. So there's magnets on in the middle. So far, so good, right? we're going to easily remove the the forearm armor and the wrist armor by just tabbing those out. And then we're easily going to place on the replacement tab armor. Same thing is going to be for the other side. Oop, wrong one. Last but not least, you're going to tab in the swords. Now the swords don't come plugged in. They actually slide in via also a tab system. As you see those grooves there, they slide right in on both sides after you plug them in. So make sure they lined up. And voila. Not voila, but voila. As I said before in my Brooklyn terms, because it's a Brooklyn dialect. And if you don't get it, that means you're not from Brooklyn. So, I mean, that's a you problem. So, as I saw here, like I told you before about this tabs, that's going to be a small issue for me, but it's whatever, because it doesn't bother me overall with the toy. Because once I actually prop this up pretty well, it actually hangs on without too much of an issue. Now, you're asking where the helmet is. I saved that for last. And the reason why that is because I want to go over the head sculpts first before we put your Bane Man's helmet on. So, we have our helmet here as well too. Hopefully that didn't take too long for you guys. But yeah, I think overall, I really like the way this looks. It is proportioned well. He looks well proportioned in and out of the armor. With the magnetized kneecaps, it's not too much of a problem. They fit on loosely so that they fall off very easily, but it also prevents you from breaking anything on this guy. Because as you can see here, he's actually lined up pretty well. Now, in terms of articulation of our figure so far, that is matched up. The one cool thing I got from it is that, for the most part, you keep all of your arm articulation. So as you can see here, lined up with everything, he can still reach over his back, which I thought was pretty cool. So if you want to reach over and grab the sword from the back, he can still do that with his arms. His arms can actually go all the way out. So sword poses are going to be very easy to do. These actually slide up, so they don't prevent you from doing too much. The swords can rotate on that little peg there. And if you want, you can take them off if you want. So as you can see here, posing this guy up as far as with the armor on and without a helmet, we actually get a really good look right now. So let's say this look right here. This is not any sort of crazy pose, anything natural, but it proves that you can get into good master-like poses. I think your biggest issue is going to be learning to tab stuff on like I'm doing right now without it constantly falling off, because you're going to learn how to not scrape against everything else. So you're going to leave that room for movement. That's going to be something that's going to take time with everybody, so it's going to be a little different. But I really like where this is going. This is a good first step in the right direction on the first line. We have something that's still posable. We have something that still functions well. And we have something, hopefully, that doesn't cause too much paint scratch. Outside of me doing that by pushing too much on that front right skirt, that was a me problem. I caught myself doing it and it was too late. But hopefully you guys will watch the video and you won't have that problem. One of the things I want to talk about also is, like I said, the helmet and the extra sculpts. So as you can see, we have our natural default face. Here we have the smiling face. All right, looks really good, and also looks off a little to the left. We have our action face. All right. Then we have our armored action face for when you want to do your super move or you want to do something cool. So I'm going to save this actually for the helmeted head. So as far as that goes, we also get open palm action hands. I'm actually going to use this for transformation hands as well too. Can't wait to do that. We have our sword holding hands. And you see our closed fist here. You also get the swords. These do not sheath. These are actually part swapping. So you get two of these. They actually are fairly big. And if you have the sword holding hand here, I'm going to use this right one here. You can tab it in by just gently opening up the hand and sliding it in. But for you to do any of the part swapping, you are going to wiggle, because the hilt is actually a part. The blade itself is different. And the reason why is because when you do the double bladed version, you are going to match up the hilts, right? I'm sorry, you're going to match up the blades on the double hilt for your super move. Flare up now. It's soft plastic, but it's not too soft, so please be very careful. So you can break it if you put any extreme force or weight on this. So please be careful. So when you want to do your flare up now move, you can. And we have, where's our other hand? What did I do with it? Here we go. What I suggest you do is you should heat it up, slide in from the bottom of the wrist and go through and up. I suggest that way. Or what you do is you take the blade off and then start from there, because either way you'll want to do it where you're safe and you don't break anything. So it's really up to you. But like I said, I'm going to slide it in here and just rotate the thumb around by using some tweezers later, but I'm not going to do it here. Actually, wait, I can rotate it around anyway. There we go. Now it's on. I didn't think I would be able to do that on camera because it almost never works out for me. So yeah. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the armored up head, well, the armored up faceplate inside the armored up head. You pull apart the two. On the backhand side of the head, you are actually going to peg it in or tab it in, depending on the word you want to use. And now we have our yelling head. Come on, folk. There we go. That looks fantastic. So let's actually swap this off. We can just pull the whole thing off. See, there's going to be a tabbing part under there, or a pin, or whatever it is we're going to call. Now, with the helmeted head, this is where you get the least amount of articulation, because the back of the helmet is actually going to restrict all sorts of really cool movement. So you're only going to be able to either look straight, look down, or tilt left and right, because that back of the helmet is going to get in the way of all your shoulder armor. It doesn't get in the way of anything else but the shoulder armor, but that's going to mess up with your articulation. So unless you know exactly what you have planned, keep that in mind. Otherwise, you'll be a little frustrated, right? Otherwise, I think this looks absolutely fantastic. It's proportioned very well. The red is luscious. It's one of those things where this is easily going to be something that I have on permanent display as I collect the whole team. Hopefully we get them all. Now, what I'm also going to do is, oh, by the way, before I talk about it, forget, like I said, just like with the sheaths, you actually, it's just tabbing it. So if you want them to be put on, you just match the tab up. So you can put your swords on. I'm only going to put on one right now because I just want to make sure we get through this lovely thing together. Now I'm going to leave him armored up. I'm going to stand him straight up. And then we're going to jump into the part called the size comparison. So I'll see you guys in a couple minutes, right? All right, guys, now we're going to jump into my favorite part, which is the size comparison. This kind of gets you an idea of what you can have go up against your character, what looks good against it, what you're going to put on your shelf, all that good jazz stuff, right? So let's get into it. First things first, there's nothing else to compare to because I don't have the Armor Plus. So forgive me. But technically, because this is Samurai Troopers Ronin Warriors, you can do other armored characters, you can do mythological characters, you can even do some updated stuff because it kind of takes place between the 80s and 90s. But let's say you modernize it and you do all the cool stuff now, it kind of all works, depending on how cool you're able to imagine things, right? So first things first, I reviewed Urzok, so let's compare him to Urzok. And I think these guys are a really good scale. And the reason why that is because if this is a 16-year-old boy in magical armor and he's fighting an orc, which God knows how big those guys are, this kind of works out. This really works out in favor of the mythological armor thing or the theme of just armors in general. I think this really works here. Now, if you want him to go up against something like a skeleton or a goblin, I think you're also in luck because the Mythic Legions 2.0 skeletons happen to look like really good builders against these guys. And if you want to do a goblin, which I'm trying to really dig out the pile here, I think you're also in luck. So you definitely have some good choices with Mythic Legions here. So let's use that. Take these guys away. If you want a larger character, here he is up against an ogre, in case you wanted to do those real David and Goliath shots. Let's move this out of the way. Next up, we're going to compare it to SHF. So here is an SH Figuarts Kamen Rider Kuga. These guys look really good size-wise together. they're gonna look really cool and they team up together. Red and red, red and red. In case you have any Marvel Legends or want to do Marvel Legends stuff like a time displaced Rio, here he is with a 6-inch shield agent. And as you can see, the shield agent is pretty much bigger, but again, 16-year-old boy in armor. Really can't make that enough effort to be said. Here we are with a 1000 toy synthetic human. Here we are with a articulated icon ninja, which I think these guys are actually gonna fit the motif actually very well too, because feudal Japan era, even though ninjas technically didn't exist there, the myth of them and stuff like that. So that's actually pretty cool too. Here we are with some 1000 toys Dante, in case you want to get really cool and meta as hell, because I was about to curse and I gotta keep myself from doing that. Here's a 1000 toys Hellboy as well too. So size wise, him being the smallest actually is somewhat of a blessing, because again, this is what it is. I really like the way he looks overall. Proportion wise, I like him too. Next up, we're going to do a NECA Evil Dead Demon Spawn. Right? And I think this is going to be the last of it besides a Mezco. So here is a Mezco Me on a Gomez body to round things off at the end, to show you all the things that we have size comparison wise. This has been a lot of fun. This is actually giving me the confidence to try to transform something on screen, because it felt really organic and comfortable. And like I said, I'm trying to kick the funk of depression. So this has been something fun and cool and different to try, and gotta be brave, right? So in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you always for liking, commenting, and subscribing. All the positive vibes I've been getting, I really do appreciate it. My wife definitely appreciates it. So thank you guys so much. And as always, please be good, do good, drink your water, guys. Later.